The gold mask felt heavy against Emma's face. She stood at the edge of the Grand Plaza ballroom, her emerald dress catching the chandelier light, and wondered what insanity had brought her here. Around her, masked strangers laughed and danced, oblivious to the fact that she had coordinated every detail of this event. For years. For years of being invisible to Blake Harrison. For years of anticipating his needs, managing his schedule, watching him from across conference rooms with a heart that wouldn't listen to reason. "You look lost." The voice sent electricity down her spine. Emma turned slowly, her breath catching. Blake Harrison stood before her in a black tuxedo and simple mask, but his dark eyes held something she had never seen directed at her before. Curiosity. Interest. He didn't recognize her. "Just observing," Emma replied, keeping her voice soft and unfamiliar. "The orchid arrangements are slightly uneven. Someone's probably having a breakdown over it." Blake laughed, the sound genuine and unguarded. "You notice things most people miss. So do you, apparently. What's your name?" Emma's heart hammered. "Does it matter? Tonight we're just strangers in masks." Something flickered in his expression. Intrigue. Challenge. "Then let me buy you a drink, stranger." The champagne was cold against her lips, but Blake's proximity made her skin burn. They talked for an hour on the terrace, the city glittering below them like scattered diamonds. He told her about the coffee shop where nobody knew his name. She told him about feeling invisible in crowded rooms. Neither of them mentioned that she already knew his Sunday routine, had memorized the way he took his coffee. "Why did you come tonight?" Blake asked, his voice dropping low. "Someone told me I needed to be brave." "Are you brave?" Terrified, Emma whispered. The music changed. Something slow and aching. Blake extended his hand, and Emma knew she should run. Should disappear before this moment shattered them both. Instead, she took his hand. They danced in shadows, away from curious eyes. His hand on her waist felt like fire and forgiveness. Emma let herself have this. One dance. One night where she wasn't his assistant, where he saw her as a woman worth wanting. "I don't even know your name," Blake murmured against her ear. "Maybe mystery is better than truth." "Not with you." He pulled back, his eyes intense behind the mask. "I want to know everything." Emma's breath caught. The sincerity in his voice, the raw vulnerability in his expression, it was everything she had dreamed of seeing directed at her. The song ended. Neither of them moved. The air between them crackled with tension, with possibility, with danger. Blake's gaze dropped to her lips. Emma knew she should stop this. Should step back. Should remember who they really were. But when Blake kissed her, for years of hidden longing exploded between them. His hands tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his shoulders. The kiss was desperate, consuming, everything she had imagined and more. It tasted like champagne and recklessness and the death of her carefully maintained boundaries. They broke apart, both gasping. "Come home with me," Blake whispered, his forehead pressed to hers. "Please. I need to know this is real." Reality crashed back. Emma stepped away, panic flooding her veins. "I can't." "Wait." Blake reached for her. "At least tell me your name. Let me find you." Emma backed toward the doors, tears burning behind her mask. "If this is meant to be, the universe will find a way." That's not good enough. But Emma was already running, weaving through the crowd with practiced ease. By the time Blake fought through the guests, she had vanished. Emma didn't stop until she reached her car, gasping for air and fighting sobs. She had just kissed Blake Harrison. Her boss. The man she could never have. And tomorrow morning, she would have to face him across a desk and pretend none of it had happened. She pulled off the mask with shaking hands, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror. What have I done? Her phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. How did it go? Emma's fingers trembled as she typed back, I just destroyed everything. She drove home through empty streets, still tasting Blake on her lips, knowing that Monday morning would bring a reckoning she wasn't prepared for. What Emma didn't know was that Blake Harrison was standing in his penthouse at that exact moment, staring at security footage from the gala, determined to find the woman who had made him feel alive for the first time in years. And he always got what he wanted. Monday morning came too fast. Emma sat at her desk outside Blake's office, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup that had long gone cold. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt his lips on hers, heard his voice whispering her name he didn't know. The elevator chimed. Emma's spine went rigid. Blake strode through the hallway. His expression distant and preoccupied. He barely glanced at her as he passed. Coffee. Black. And cancel my 10 o'clock. Yes, Mr. Harrison. The same words they had exchanged 1,000 times. But Emma's voice cracked on the last syllable, and Blake froze mid-step. His head turned slowly. Those dark eyes, the ones that had burned with desire on Saturday night, narrowed as they studied her face. Emma felt the blood drain from her cheeks. Emma. His voice was careful. Too careful. How was your weekend? Fine. Quiet. Yours? Interesting. He stepped closer to her desk. I attended the charity gala Saturday night. Emma's fingers clenched around the coffee cup. I hope everything met your standards. I worked hard on the arrangements. You weren't there? No. I had other plans. Blake's jaw tightened. He moved even closer, leaning against her desk with deliberate casualness. But his eyes were sharp, searching. That's strange. Because I met someone who noticed the orchid arrangements were uneven. Someone who described it exactly the way you would. Emma's heart stopped. Lots of people notice details. She had jasmine perfume. You're wearing jasmine perfume. It's a popular scent. Emma. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Look at me. She couldn't. If she looked at him, he would see everything. For years of feelings she had buried. One night of weakness that had ruined her. Mr. Harrison, I have work to do. His hand caught her chin, gently but firmly, tilting her face up. The moment their eyes met, Emma saw recognition slam into him like a physical blow. Blake's hand dropped. He stepped back, his expression shifting from shock to disbelief to something darker. It was you. Emma stood on shaking legs, grabbing her purse. I need to take an early lunch. Don't you dare run from me again. But Emma was already moving toward the elevator, vision blurring with tears. She heard Blake call her name, heard his footsteps behind her. The elevator doors opened. Emma stumbled inside, frantically pressing the close button. Blake's hand shot between the doors at the last second. He stepped into the small space with her, and the doors closed, trapping them together. For years, Blake said, his voice raw. For years you've worked for me. How long have you been hiding this? There's nothing to hide. Don't lie to me. Not after Saturday night. Emma pressed herself against the elevator wall, her breath coming too fast. Saturday night was a mistake. I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have let you kiss me. Let me? Blake's laugh was bitter. You kissed me back like you were drowning and I was air. The elevator jerked to a stop. The lights flickered. No, Emma whispered. No, no, no. Blake pulled out his phone, dialing maintenance. His jaw was tight as he listened to the response. They're saying 20 minutes minimum. 20 minutes. Trapped in an 8x8 box with the man whose taste still lingered on her lips. This is a nightmare, Emma breathed. Is that what Saturday was? A nightmare? It was a fantasy. One night where I could pretend to be someone else. Someone I could want. Emma's eyes flashed. Someone you could actually see. Do you know how invisible I am to you? For years, Blake. For years of good morning, of coffee orders, of standing 2 feet away while you never once looked at me like I was a person. Blake flinched. That's not fair. Fair? Emma's voice rose. You kissed me Saturday night like I was the most important thing in the world. Today you walked past me like I was furniture. Because I didn't know it was you. Exactly. Emma's laugh was broken. The mask made me visible. The real me never had a chance. Blake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. I need you to understand something. The woman I kissed Saturday night, the woman I haven't been able to stop thinking about, she wasn't someone different. She was you. The real you. You don't know the real me. Then let me. The elevator jolted back to life. The doors slid open on the lobby level. Emma pushed past him, but Blake caught her wrist. I'm not letting you run again. We're going to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I made a mistake. It won't happen again. Emma, please. The desperation in his voice stopped her. She turned, and the look on his face nearly broke her. I can't do this, she whispered. I can't be your assistant and pretend I don't feel what I feel. I can't stand next to you every day knowing what it's like to kiss you and knowing it can never happen again. Why can't it? Because you're my boss. Because it would destroy my career. Because when this ends, and it will end, I'll have nothing left. Blake's grip tightened on her wrist. What if it doesn't end? Before Emma could respond, a voice cut through the lobby. Blake Harrison. Just the man I wanted to see. Emma turned to see Marcus Chen, Blake's business rival, approaching with a predatory smile. And beside him was Jordan, Emma's best friend, looking pale and guilty. Marcus, Blake said coldly. What are you doing here? Marcus's smile widened as his gaze slid to Emma. Funny you should ask. I just had the most interesting conversation with Miss Martinez here. She had some fascinating things to say about your company's upcoming merger. Emma's blood turned to ice. She looked at Jordan, saw the shame in her friend's eyes, and understood. Jordan had sold her out. Had used their friendship to get information that Marcus could use against Blake. Emma, Blake said quietly. Tell me you didn't. Emma pulled her wrist from his grasp, her world crumbling. I need to go. Emma, wait. But she was already running, Marcus's laughter echoing behind her, Blake's betrayed expression seared into her memory. She had lost everything. Her job. Her integrity. And the man she loved, who now looked at her like she was a traitor. Emma's apartment door shook under Blake's fist. Open the door, Emma. I know you're in there. She pressed her back against the wall, tears streaming down her face. 3 hours had passed since Marcus's ambush in the lobby. 3 hours of her phone exploding with messages, Jordan's desperate apologies mixed with Blake's cold demands for answers. I didn't tell her anything, Emma shouted through the door. I would never betray you like that. The pounding stopped. Silence stretched for a heartbeat. Then let me in. Emma's hand hovered over the lock. Every instinct screamed to keep the door closed, to protect what little dignity she had left. But the raw pain in Blake's voice undid her. She opened the door. Blake looked wrecked. His tie was gone, his shirt partially unbuttoned, his hair disheveled like he had been running his hands through it for hours. But his eyes were what broke her. Cold and guarded and barely containing rage. Talk, he said, stepping inside. Make me understand how my assistant, the woman I trusted with everything, ended up feeding information to my biggest rival. I didn't. Then explain how Marcus knew about the Singapore merger. How he had details that only 5 people in my company should know. You're one of those 5, Emma. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. Jordan called me last week. Said she needed advice about a potential job opportunity. I thought I was helping a friend. What did you tell her? Nothing specific. Just general information about corporate mergers, timelines, standard procedures. I never mentioned Singapore. I never named your company. Blake's jaw clenched. But she asked leading questions. Used your trust to extract exactly what she needed. I didn't realize what she was doing. Emma's voice cracked. She's been my best friend for 6 years. I trusted her. That makes 2 of us betrayed. The words hung between them like shattered glass. Blake, I swear to you, I would never intentionally hurt your company. I would never hurt you. Wouldn't you? His voice turned sharp. You lied to me Saturday night. Pretended to be someone else. Made me feel things I haven't felt in years, then disappeared without a word. How is that not betrayal? Emma flinched. That's not fair. Fair? Blake moved closer, and Emma could smell his cologne, the same scent that had wrapped around her during their dance. You want to talk about fair? I spent 2 days obsessing over a woman who doesn't exist. I watched security footage for hours trying to find her. And all along, she was right in front of me. She does exist. I exist. Do you? Because I don't know what's real anymore. The efficient assistant who anticipates my every need? The mysterious woman in the emerald dress? The friend who accidentally gives corporate secrets to the enemy? Each word was a knife. Emma felt herself bleeding out. Get out. Blake's expression flickered. What? You want to know who I really am? I'm the woman who's been in love with you for 4 years. The woman who watched you date models and socialites and pretended my heart wasn't breaking. The woman who took one night, one stupid night, to feel what it would be like if you looked at me the way you look at them. Blake went very still. I'm also the woman who just lost her best friend. Who's about to lose her job. Who made one mistake in trusting the wrong person and is now being accused of corporate espionage by the man she would do anything to protect. Emma's voice rose, trembling with emotion. So yes, I lied Saturday night. I wore a mask and I let you kiss me and I ran away because I knew this would happen. I knew reality would destroy whatever beautiful thing we almost had. And I was right. Emma. Get out of my apartment, Mr. Harrison. Blake didn't move. His eyes searched hers, and Emma saw the exact moment his anger cracked. You love me? Loved. Past tense. Liar. Blake closed the distance between them in 2 strides. You're still lying. Don't. Emma pushed against his chest. Don't do this. Don't make this harder. Harder than what? Harder than Saturday night when you disappeared and took part of me with you? Harder than this morning when I realized the woman I can't stop thinking about has been right in front of me all along? His hands cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. I fired Jordan. Emma blinked. What? Your friend. I tracked her down 2 hours ago. She confessed everything. Marcus offered her $50,000 for information about my merger. She knew you worked for me. She used your friendship to get what he needed. Horror washed over Emma. Blake, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know. I know you didn't, Emma. But I needed to see you. Needed to hear you say it. Why? Blake's thumb brushed away a tear on her cheek. Because I needed to know if the woman from Saturday night was real. If this, he gestured between them, was real. It doesn't matter. You can't trust me anymore. Can't I? His voice dropped to a whisper. The woman I danced with Saturday night saw me. Really saw me. Not my money or my company or my reputation. Just me. I haven't felt that in years, Emma. Maybe ever. Emma's resolve crumbled. Blake. Tell me you feel this too. Tell me I'm not insane for wanting to know what happens next. This is impossible. I'm your assistant. There are rules, policies, power dynamics. Then I'll fire you. Emma laughed through tears. You can't just fire me so you can date me. I can do whatever I want. I'm the CEO. That's not how it works. Blake's forehead pressed against hers. Then tell me how it does work. Because right now, all I know is that I can't walk away from you. Not after Saturday night. Not after knowing what we could be. Emma's hands fisted in his shirt. This will destroy everything. Or it will save everything. His lips were a breath away from hers. Emma knew she should stop this, should push him away, should protect them both from the inevitable disaster. Instead, she closed the distance. The kiss was different from Saturday night. Less desperate, more certain. Blake kissed her like he was memorizing her, like he was claiming her, like he was terrified she would disappear again. Emma melted into him, for years of longing pouring into this one moment. Blake pulled back, his breathing ragged. Come back to the office with me. Blake. Not as my assistant. As my partner. Help me fix the mess Marcus is trying to create. Help me save the merger. And after, we figure out what this is between us. Emma searched his eyes. You really trust me? With everything. Before Emma could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered with shaking hands. Hello? Miss Rodriguez? An unfamiliar male voice. This is Detective Morrison. We need you to come down to the station. There's been an incident involving Jordan Martinez. She's named you as an accomplice in corporate espionage. We need to ask you some questions. The phone slipped from Emma's fingers. Blake caught it, his expression hardening as he heard the detective's words. Emma Rodriguez isn't going anywhere without her lawyer, Blake said into the phone. And you can tell Marcus Chen that false accusations are going to cost him everything. He ended the call and pulled Emma into his arms. This is Marcus's play, Blake said grimly. He's trying to destroy you to get to me. Emma's voice was hollow. It's working. No. Blake tilted her chin up. Because I'm not letting him win. We're going to fight this together. But Emma, I need you to tell me right now. Is there anything at all, that Marcus could use against you? Emma closed her eyes, and Blake felt her tremble. Emma. What is it? When she opened her eyes, they were filled with devastation. The security footage from Saturday night. If Marcus gets his hands on it, if he shows the board that we were together at the gala, it will prove I had access to confidential information. It will look like corporate espionage. Like I seduced you to steal secrets. Blake's blood turned cold. We need to get to that footage before Marcus does. It's too late. Emma's voice broke. Marcus works fast. If he wants that footage, he already has it. Blake's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. A video attachment. And a single line of text. She played you, Harrison. Check your email in 5 minutes. The board gets the full story. Blake opened the video. It showed Emma and Blake on the terrace, kissing with desperate intensity. Emma saw the screen and made a sound of pure anguish. He's going to destroy both of us, she whispered. Blake pulled her close, his mind racing. Not if I destroy him first. The boardroom felt like an execution chamber. Emma sat beside Blake at the long mahogany table, acutely aware of 12 pairs of eyes judging her. Marcus Chen lounged at the opposite end, his smile predatory. The video he had sent was now paused on the projection screen, frozen on the moment Blake's lips met hers. "Gentlemen," Marcus began, his voice smooth as poison. "I think we all know why we're here. Blake Harrison has been compromised by his assistant. This merger, everything he's built, it's all tainted by this relationship." Richard Torres, the oldest board member, leaned forward. "Blake, is this true? Were you involved with Miss Rodriguez before the Singapore deal was negotiated?" "No." Blake's voice was steel. "What happened at the gala occurred after all merger documents were signed." "But she had access to confidential information," another board member interjected. "How do we know she didn't use this relationship to extract details?" "Because I would never do that." Emma's voice cut through the room. Every eye turned to her. "I've worked for Harrison Industries for 4 years. My record is spotless. I have never once violated confidentiality agreements." Marcus laughed. "Touching. But we have evidence that you shared merger details with Jordan Martinez, who then sold them to me. That's not spotless, Miss Rodriguez. That's criminal." Emma stood, her hands flat on the table. "Jordan manipulated me. She used our friendship to extract general information that she twisted to serve your purposes. But I never named companies, never gave specifics, never knowingly betrayed Blake's trust." "Yet you ended up in his arms," Marcus said softly. "Quite the coincidence. It wasn't planned." Blake's voice was dangerous. "And Marcus, if you're going to throw stones, let's talk about how you obtained that security footage. Breaking and entering. Bribing a security guard. Corporate espionage. Should I continue?" Marcus's smile didn't waver. "I have lawyers who say otherwise. But here's what I know. This merger is worth $3 billion. If the Singapore investors get wind of this scandal, they'll pull out. Harrison Industries will lose everything. Unless," Marcus continued, his gaze sliding to Emma, "Miss Rodriguez takes responsibility. Resigns. Signs an NDA. Disappears quietly. Then this all goes away." Emma felt Blake go rigid beside her. "That's blackmail," Blake said, his voice deadly quiet. "That's business." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "What's it going to be, Blake? Your company or your assistant?" The silence was suffocating. Emma looked at Blake and saw the war raging behind his eyes. 4 years of work. Thousands of employees depending on him. A merger that would revolutionize his industry. All of it hanging by a thread. All of it hanging on her. "I'll resign." Emma's voice was clear. "Effective immediately. I'll sign whatever NDAs you want. I'll take full responsibility." "No." Blake grabbed her wrist. "Emma, don't do this." She looked at him, memorizing his face. The sharp line of his jaw. The intensity in his dark eyes. The way he looked at her now, like she was worth more than empires. "I have to. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me." Emma smiled, her eyes filling with tears. "You don't get to choose. This is my decision." She turned back to the board. "I'm the one who trusted the wrong person. I'm the one who went to that gala in disguise. I'm the one who kissed Blake Harrison and complicated everything. So I'm the one who pays the price." "Emma, please." Blake's voice cracked. "Don't do this. We'll find another way." "There is no other way." Emma pulled her wrist from his grasp. "You know it. I know it. This is how we save your company." "I don't care about the company." The room went silent. Every board member stared at Blake in shock. What? Marcus breathed. Blake stood, his gaze locked on Emma. I said I don't care. Not if the cost is her. Blake, Richard warned. Think about what you're saying. I have thought about it. I've thought about nothing else since Saturday night. Blake moved around the table, standing between Emma and the board. Emma Rodriguez is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Not my company. Not my money. Not any of this. He turned to Emma, his hands framing her face. I love you. I think I've loved you since the moment you corrected my coffee order on your first day. I just wasn't smart enough to see it. Emma's breath caught. Blake, you can't say this. Not here. Not now. Why not? Because it's messy? Because it's inconvenient? Because it doesn't fit the narrative Marcus is trying to spin? Blake turned back to the board. You want to know the truth? Emma makes me better. She challenges me. She sees past the armor I've built and reminds me why I started this company in the first place. If loving her costs me everything, then I'll pay that price gladly. You're being irrational, Marcus snapped. You're willing to destroy your entire legacy for a woman you barely know. I know her better than I've known anyone. Blake's voice softened. And she's worth more than any merger, any company, any empire I could build. Emma felt her heart shatter and reassemble at the same time. You're insane. Probably. Blake's thumb brushed away her tears. But I'm not letting you walk away. Not again. Richard stood, his expression grave. Blake, if you pursue this relationship, I cannot in good conscience recommend you continue as CEO. The board will have no choice but to remove you. Then remove me. The room erupted. Board members shouting, Marcus laughing in triumph, phones buzzing with alerts as news of the scandal began to leak. Emma grabbed Blake's face, forcing him to look at her. Stop. Stop sacrificing yourself for me. This is my mess. Let me clean it up. It stopped being just your mess the moment I fell in love with you. You'll lose everything. I'll lose nothing that matters. Blake kissed her forehead. Empires fall, Emma. Companies collapse. Money disappears. But this, what we have, that's real. That's worth fighting for. Blake Harrison. Marcus's voice cut through the chaos. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Blake turned, his arms still around Emma. No, Marcus. The biggest mistake of my life was not seeing Emma sooner. Everything else is just noise. Emma buried her face against Blake's chest, overwhelmed by his words, his sacrifice, the enormity of what he was giving up. I can't let you do this, she whispered. Too late. Already done. The boardroom doors burst open. A woman in a sharp suit strode in, flanked by two men in FBI jackets. Marcus Chen. The woman held up a badge. FBI. You're under arrest for corporate espionage, bribery, and wire fraud. The room froze. Marcus's face drained of color. What? We've been building a case against you for 6 months, the agent continued. Your conversation with Jordan Martinez was recorded. Your illegal acquisition of security footage was documented. And the $50,000 you paid for corporate secrets? That money's been traced back to offshore accounts used for money laundering. Marcus stood, backing away. You have no proof. We have everything we need. The agent nodded to her colleagues. Take him. As Marcus was led away in handcuffs, Blake pulled out his phone and played a recording. Jordan's voice filled the boardroom, clear and damning, confessing to her deal with Marcus, admitting that Emma knew nothing. Emma stared at Blake. How did you get that? I hired a private investigator Saturday night. Been tracking Marcus for months, waiting for him to make a mistake. Jordan's testimony was the final piece. Richard cleared his throat. Blake, it seems we owe you an apology. You owe Emma the apology. Blake's voice was firm. She's been innocent this entire time, and you were ready to throw her away to save the company's reputation. The board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Miss Rodriguez, Richard said carefully. We would like to offer you your position back, with a significant raise and a formal apology. Emma looked at Blake, then at the board. Thank you, but no. Emma, Blake whispered. What are you doing? She turned to him, her eyes clear. You were right. What matters is real. And what we have, it's too important to hide behind professional boundaries and corporate policies. Emma addressed the board. I'm resigning because I choose to. Not because I'm guilty, but because I'm choosing him over this job. Blake Harrison is worth more to me than any position in any company. Blake's eyes shone. You mean that? Every word. Emma smiled through tears. You sacrificed everything for me. The least I can do is meet you halfway. Blake kissed her, deep and thorough, in front of the entire board. When they broke apart, Richard was smiling. For what it's worth, Blake, I think you made the right choice. Both of you did. Blake took Emma's hand. So what now? Emma laughed, the sound light and free. Now? Now we figure out who we are when we're not boss and assistant. When we're just Blake and Emma. I like the sound of that. They walked toward the boardroom doors, leaving behind the wreckage of scandal and corporate drama. But as they reached the exit, Emma's phone rang. Unknown number again. She answered, her blood running cold at the voice on the other end. Emma Rodriguez? This is Singapore General Hospital. Your mother collapsed 2 hours ago. She's in critical condition. You need to come immediately. The phone slipped from Emma's hands. Blake caught her as her knees buckled. Emma? Emma, what's wrong? But Emma couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Her mother, the woman who had sacrificed everything to give Emma opportunities, was dying halfway across the world. And Emma had just given up the job that provided the insurance that kept her mother alive. The hospital in Singapore smelled like antiseptic and desperation. Emma sat beside her mother's bed, holding a hand that felt too fragile, watching monitors track a heartbeat that grew weaker by the hour. Blake stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder, a silent anchor in the storm. 3 days. They had been here 3 days, and the doctors kept using words like critical and deteriorating and prepare yourself. I did this. Emma's voice was hollow. I resigned. I lost the insurance. I killed her. Stop. Blake knelt beside her chair. Your mother collapsed before you resigned. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? Emma laughed bitterly. I chose you over everything. Over my career, over my mother's healthcare, over common sense. What kind of daughter does that? A daughter who deserves to be happy. At what cost? Emma's tears fell hot and fast. Blake, I love you. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. But I can't lose her. Not for you. Not for anything. Blake's jaw tightened. Then you won't. He stood, pulling out his phone, walking into the hallway. Emma heard his voice, sharp and commanding, making calls, demanding answers. When he returned 20 minutes later, his expression was determined. The best cardiac surgeon in Asia is flying in tonight. I'm covering all medical expenses. Your mother gets every treatment available. Emma stared at him. Blake, I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm choosing. He took her hands. Emma, I told you I would sacrifice everything for you. That includes my money, my resources, everything I have. Your mother lives. That's not negotiable. Fresh tears spilled down Emma's cheeks. Why? Why would you do this? Because I love you. Because your pain is my pain. Because when I said you were worth everything, I meant it. The door opened. A nurse entered, speaking rapid Mandarin. Blake translated, his face growing grave. They need to operate now. Emergency procedure. But Emma, there's a complication. Emma's heart stopped. What kind of complication? Your mother needs a partial heart transplant. They have a donor match, but the surgery is experimental. Risky. There's a 30% chance she won't survive. And if they don't operate? Blake's silence was answer enough. Emma stood on shaking legs. Do it. Whatever it takes, do it. The next 8 hours were hell. Emma paced the waiting room while Blake made endless phone calls, coordinating with lawyers, ensuring Emma's mother would have the best possible care regardless of outcome. Around midnight, Emma finally collapsed in a chair, exhausted beyond measure. Blake sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. Tell me about her, he said softly. Your mother. Emma's voice was thick with emotion. She came to America with nothing. Worked 3 jobs to put me through school. She used to say that love was the only thing worth sacrificing for, but I never understood what she meant. Not until you. She sounds remarkable. She is. She's everything I want to be. Emma looked up at Blake. When I was 16, she got sick for the first time. Heart condition. Doctors said she had 5 years maximum. That was 12 years ago. She's a fighter. Like her daughter. Emma smiled through tears. I've been so angry at her lately. Angry that she worked herself sick. Angry that I had to carry the burden of her medical care. Angry that I couldn't just be young and reckless like everyone else. And now? Now I understand. She sacrificed everything for me. Just like you're doing now. Just like I would do for you. Emma's voice cracked. That's what love is, isn't it? Choosing someone else's life over your own comfort. Blake kissed her forehead. That's exactly what it is. The doors to the surgical wing opened. A doctor in scrubs approached, his expression unreadable. Emma stood, her heart in her throat. Is she alive? The doctor smiled. The surgery was successful. Your mother is stable. She'll need months of recovery, but she's going to live. Emma's knees buckled. Blake caught her, holding her as she sobbed with relief. Can I see her? Emma asked. Give us an hour to get her settled in ICU. Then yes. After the doctor left, Emma turned to Blake, her eyes red but clear. I need to tell you something. Blake tensed. Whatever it is, we'll handle it. When I was at my lowest point today, when I thought I was going to lose her, I realized something. Emma took his hands. You offered me everything. Your money, your resources, your future. You gave up your company for me. You paid for my mother's surgery. You've been my rock through all of this. And I'd do it again. I know. That's the problem. Emma's voice shook. Blake, I can't be the person who takes everything from you and gives nothing back. I can't be the woman who let you destroy your empire for a kiss at a masquerade ball. Blake's face went still. What are you saying? I'm saying that you need to go back. Talk to the board. Fix what we broke. Take back your company. Emma, no. Listen to me. Emma's hands tightened on his. I love you. I will always love you. But I can't build my happiness on the ruins of yours. You worked too hard, sacrificed too much, to lose it all because of me. I don't care about the company. But I do. Emma's voice was fierce. Because that company is part of who you are. You built it from nothing. You employ thousands of people. You make a difference. And I won't be the reason you lose that. Blake's eyes searched hers. So what? We go back to how things were. You as my assistant, pretending this never happened? No. We find a different way. A better way. One where we both get to keep the things that matter. You matter more than any company. And you matter more than any job. Emma smiled through tears. So we figure it out. Together. But Blake, you have to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll fight for Harrison Industries. Fight to get your position back. Fight to finish that merger. Fight for the empire you built. Blake pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. Only if you promise me something in return. What? Promise me that when this is over, when the dust settles and we figure out how to make this work, you'll marry me. Emma's breath caught. What? I'm serious. Blake pulled back, his eyes intense. I don't have a ring. I don't have a plan. But Emma Rodriguez, I am absolutely certain that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So promise me. Promise me this isn't the end. Emma laughed, the sound watery but genuine. You're insane. Is that a yes? That's a maybe. Ask me again when we're not in a hospital in Singapore at 2 in the morning after the worst 3 days of our lives. Blake grinned. I'll take that. They stood there, holding each other in a sterile waiting room halfway across the world, and Emma felt something shift inside her. Not breaking. Not cracking. But settling into place. We're going to figure this out, Blake said. I don't know how yet, but we will. Together? Always together. 6 months later, Emma stood in Blake's office. Not as his assistant, but as director of operations for Harrison Industries' new charitable foundation. The board had offered Blake his position back with full support once the truth about Marcus came out. The merger had gone through successfully. The company was thriving. And Blake and Emma had found a way to be together without compromising their integrity or their careers. You ready? Blake asked, straightening his tie. Emma smiled, looking at the small velvet box in his pocket. Tonight was the company's anniversary gala. Another masquerade ball. But this time, there would be no secrets. No hiding. No running. I'm ready. Emma adjusted her own mask, this one white and silver, matching the dress Blake had chosen for her. Though I have to say, I prefer these events when I'm not coordinating them. Blake laughed, pulling her into his arms. And I prefer them when I know exactly who the woman in the mask is. Your fiancé? Not yet. Blake kissed her softly. But soon. Emma rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and sure. They had been through hell. Betrayal. Scandal. Near loss. Impossible choices. But they had survived. Together. Blake? Yeah. Thank you for seeing me. For really seeing me. Blake tilted her chin up, his eyes full of love. Thank you for being brave enough to let me. They walked into the ballroom hand in hand, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. Around them, masked strangers danced and laughed, oblivious to the love story that had nearly destroyed and ultimately saved two people who had been invisible to each other for far too long. Emma looked at Blake, and he looked back, and in that moment, they both knew. Some love stories start with a fairy tale. But the best ones start with truth. The end.